Hey guys, welcome back to Make a Way Life Coaching. My name is Sarah Abbott. I'm the life coach here, and it's the day before Valentine's Day. You might be one of these people who hates Valentine's Day. I know there's a lot of y'all out there, but it's my birthday, so I'm very partial to Valentine's Day, and I think it's a wonderful day to celebrate love. You don't have to buy the card or the flowers. You can do other things. I really recommend not going out to dinner because of the price fixed situation. It's just like stupid expensive. But it's okay. You can have dinner at home. Do something fun like that. Okay, so we at Make a Way Life Coaching are asking you, today's February 13th, you have one day. I want you to be intentional about your marriage this Valentine's Day, tomorrow. And start a date night tradition that will start tomorrow, but will continue for the rest of 2020. I don't know if you're already doing date night with your spouse, but it's very important. It sounds like one of these annoying things millennials make up, like some artificial holiday that you have to have every single week. But I think it's really important because life goes by, especially once you have children. Just feels like everything's like woo, flying by all the time. And it's really easy to forget about your marriage if you're not intentional. So I want you to have an intentional date night for Valentine's Day, and I want it to be the first one that will be a weekly tradition for 2020. So how do you have a date night? Sounds simple. It's so simple. We have a rule sheet we're going to give you. You can print it. It's in the show notes. No problem. Print that baby. Take it with you so you remember the rules. Before we jump in, I want to tell you about something called Gottman Couples Therapy. Okay, I'm Gottman certified for I think level 1. Oh, it's so good. I learned about it in therapy school. And actually then afterwards, I figured out that my couples therapist, I guess our couples therapist, Nick and I, was also doing Gottman counseling with us, and we didn't even know it. What the heck? That's what's fun about counseling. They're doing something. They have a theory, and you don't even probably know about it, but you can ask. It might be kind of interesting. So, Gottman Couples Counseling is super powerful. They actually have a lab, they call it a lab, up in Seattle. And couples, believe it or not, voluntarily come there. And it's so interesting. So the benefit for the couple is you get a weekend away in Seattle for free, right? That's pretty cool, in an apartment. But there's cameras everywhere. Not in the bedroom, but everywhere else. And you actually, while you're in the lab, have to wear detectors that monitor your pulse and your blood pressure and all these other things. Why? Because they want to know when couples are activated. And one way of telling that is is your pulse super high because you're arguing? Okay, so now we know that you're activated. So it's it's such a powerful mode of couples counseling because most couples counselors just kind of have ideas about what works and what doesn't, but the Gottmans base it all on, I think, 30 or 40 years of direct observation plus follow-up. So they know which couples made it, they know which ones rate themselves as happy at the end of their marriage, and they can look back and kind of add up what did those couples do that took them to the happy ending. Oh my gosh, you guys, that is so powerful. So one of the things I want to talk to you about for date night is called turn towards. It's these are the two people. Instead of doing life, yelling at the kids, turn towards each other. And that is just a really powerful principle. So the Gottmans talk about turn towards in bids for attention. So this is important for your marriage, especially for you avoiders. Who else would this be hard for? I would say it's mostly hard for the avoiders, is to realize that throughout the day, your spouse is making little bids of attention. And they seem like they're not important, but what the Gottmans found is that couples who are really happy know how important these bids of attention are. So, little things like you're reading the paper. Now, if you're like me and you're just having your first cup of coffee, gosh, I just don't like people talking to me. I'm super grumpy about it. I'm hello, I'm reading the paper. But it is really powerful because basically if you're reading the paper and your spouse is like, oh, the Niners won the conference championship, they're going to the Super Bowl. Okay, sorry. That was just an example from my own life from back in late January. Even if you just want to read the paper in silence, it only takes a second to be like, I know, isn't that so cool? Back to the paper. That Super Bowl thing, from the husband, that was a bid for attention. And me just going, I know, wasn't that so cool, was a way to turn towards him and meet the connection. And believe it or not, it's one of the most powerful things you can do for your marriage, according to the Gottmans. And it's so easy, people. Pay attention to the bids of attention, turn towards your partner, and you'd be amazed at how things change. So we're going to talk about that later in the rules for dating, but I just wanted to kind of broach this idea because it will change your marriage in a really powerful way. And as you change it, you're like, my spouse isn't going to watch this video. How is he going to, turn toward me? As you do it more and more, you'd be surprised how it's going to influence how much your spouse turns toward you. Okay, so I think of turning towards, this is not Gottman approved, this is my life coaching business. I get to have my own opinions. I totally love that turning towards on bids for attention, but I like to think of it in a more global sense too. And that's where the weekly date night comes in. You guys, life just happens like so fast, like making breakfast, packing lunches, work, kids, soccer, basketball. Oh my gosh, right? It's just like this relentless flow of people needing your attention. And it's easy to just go through life, like again, if this is you and your spouse, like he's doing his work, you're doing your work, and the kids and this and the cleaning and the schlepping and all these things. I think it's really powerful on a global scale to take one night a week in which you are putting everything aside. Who cares if the kids miss a practice? Honestly. Be like, you know what, coach? You scheduled a last minute practice on date night. Kid ain't going. That's just the facts, okay? And because you're going to have the intentionality of turning towards each other and spending intentional time together. That is the power of the weekly date night. So, I want you to have one tomorrow for Valentine's Day. This can be in your own house, okay? When I talk to people about date nights, like clients or friends or whoever, boy, people have a lot of excuses. Like, I don't have the money. I can't afford this sitter. So I want to tell you a story about the Furs family. When I was a teacher many moons ago, so I actually was not a Christian when I first started teaching. But God was working in my life, and I had started attending church, but I was really wary of the whole thing. But what was so beautiful about teaching at a public school was that there were a few Christian families whose kids stood out to me. Like, I don't know if you guys, not all Christians are like this. Some are, honestly, I don't even know what's going on. Like, seems to me like they're pretty far from the Lord, but it's not for me to judge. But there were a few families when I was teaching high school that their kids stood out literally like a city on a hill. And the Furs family was one of those kids. I had 2 of their 3 children, and I'm always really sad I left before the 3rd one came around. But these kids were so wonderful and genuine, and I don't even know. I mean, they just stood out. So I wanted to know more about their family, and I was lucky because I had their kids in leadership, so we got to kind of hang out more than you do in history. And one of the things I learned from them was that their parents did a weekly date night, and they didn't even go out. They made their children stay upstairs. They gave the oldest one the responsibility of the babysitting, and the number one rule was like, you don't come downstairs during date night. How amazing is that? So the parents did their date night downstairs. They had dinner, and just the 2 of them at the table. I don't even know what the kids ate upstairs. Who cares? Babysitter was in charge of them, okay? It didn't cost them a penny. But they had the intentional time together. And I remember being like 20, whatever, when I was teaching, thinking like, that is really powerful. So thank you, First Family, for teaching me that lesson. And now I want to pass that along to you. Don't make excuses for not connecting with your spouse. You only have one spouse, and hopefully it's going to stay that way. You have a lot of control over whether or not this is your only spouse, right? You got married, you made a commitment. So make a commitment to a weekly time of turning towards. And again, that could be at your own dining room table. Put the kids in the bedroom with a movie. Make the oldest one make sure they don't come out, and spend the time together. If you want to spend some money and you have it, then go out and do something fun together. Take dancing lessons together. Whatever it is, okay? Bowling, golf, bike rides, those are free. Do something to connect. Set a date and stick to it. Now, I will tell you from my experience, it doesn't work to just say Friday night's our night. Okay, maybe that'll work for you. It's too hard for us. Like, there's family stuff that gets in the way. And so every week, look at your calendar and be like, I claim Saturday night this week for our date night. The next week could be Sunday night. The next week could be Friday night, okay? But make the intention and stick to it for 2020. That one night a week, you're going to have a date night with your spouse, and you're going to follow the rules that we're going to give you. Rule number 1, set the date and stick to it. Rule number 2, do not talk about kids or money. 2 forbidden topics. You can do it. I will be honest with you. Nick and I, who knows, one time both my parents had cancer and I was not in the mood to go on a date. So we took a ton of time off from date night, and I was amazed when we went on our first date after this long break, and I was like, all I wanted to do is talk about the kids, and I don't even know what, and money. I don't even know. Probably not money, but at least the kids. And I was actually struggling, like, what do we talk about? Because we were out of habit, okay? So the first thing to know is it's a little bit awkward not to talk about kids or money if that's what you're used to doing. But it gets easier. Get in the flow and you'll be surprised. I'm not even joking. If you're really, really stuck, think about back before you had kids, what did you talk about? Okay? There's like a whole world of things to talk about, and you know what those things are because you used to do it, okay? You didn't always have kids. So go back in your mind and think, oh yeah, we talked about the Niners, go Niners, or the Giants, or how much we love the moon. I don't care. Just talk about anything other than kids or money and just see how amazing that makes your date night. All right, number 3, turn towards. We already talked about turn towards. So on your date, be like laser focused on responding to every bid for attention. So if you're like eating and your spouse is like, oh, this lobster is good, don't be like, okay, you can do better than that. That was a bid for attention. So be like, you know what? This lobster is so good. And just like, see how that builds up your spouse because you cared about what they thought and you didn't just give some like lame answer like, okay? So you're already turning towards just by being there and setting aside all the concerns of the world. But on top of it, you're turning towards and you're really paying attention to these bids for attention. And I just think it's a really great opportunity for you to practice this skill. Rule number 4 is have sex. I said it. All right, I'm of 2 minds on this topic. Number 1, I am not a pleaser. We talked about how we love, so if you don't know what a pleaser is, go watch that video. I don't have a lot of that inside of me. So it has been a surprise to me to find out that a lot of the pleasers I know basically never say no to sex, okay? If there's any guys watching this, I know they're like, dang, I wish I would have married a pleaser. Okay, maybe you do wish that. But here's the thing. If you're always just like agreeing to sex, I don't think that's good. I think that sex is a really important part of a relationship, but I do think it needs to be something that you genuinely want to do and are not doing like, I don't know. I can't even think of the word, not as an act of service, but I don't want you selling yourself out to do it, if that's what, do you know what I mean? I want you to like authentically want it. So if date night is going to be a time of connection, then I just really want to encourage you to, at the end of the night, hop into bed and have some fun, okay? Now, I meet a lot of people, women, who have forgotten that sex is a really important part of a marriage. And you can fall into habits where it is not something you're doing on the regular. I will tell you something my hairdresser taught me, which is that the more you do it, the more you want it. And I actually think that's true. So if you haven't done it and you're kind of like stale down there, that's okay. But get back into the groove. Make yourself do it. Like, because you want to though, because you want that connection. I think it's just really important that we're not in denial about the fact that physical intimacy is a really important part of marriage. So anyway, I'm giving you permission to go to Target or Soma or anywhere you want, your local boutique, and pick out a really pretty nightgown or negligee. That's fun. But one that makes you feel like your sexiest self. Okay. If you're feeling 50 pounds overweight and like, I don't even want to do it because I don't feel sexy. I know, I've been there. And maybe that's something that you need to work on, okay? If that's keeping you away from an intimacy with your husband, then I would encourage you to work on the weight. And that's something that is a lifelong struggle for me, so I'm right there with you, sister. But I'm just like, I don't want to hear any more excuses about intimacy. I want couples to be having like loving, God-honoring sex, and I just think that's like really powerful. So I want you to end your Valentine's Day and hopefully every date night with some physical connection. Again, go get a nightie or a negligee, light some candles. I know a lot of ladies who are like, oh, he never lights candles. Girl, get a lighter, light your own candles. Stop it. Put the music on, turn the lights off, because you won't notice the 50 pounds as much if the lights are off, okay? Do whatever it's gonna take to get it done. I'm serious about that. All right, last thing I promise. I want to honor that this date night idea might be really scary for some of us. And here's what I know. I know that if you have been turned away from your spouse and he away from you for a long time, then the idea of turning towards and having like a whole night together is intimidating and it feels awkward. And I just want to encourage you to power through that. We do things every day that are hard. I don't know. It's just part of life, okay? So persevere, lean into the awkwardness, and just know that if you really commit to this for 2020, 2 months from now, when you've already been on 8 dates, you're gonna be amazed by the fact that it's not awkward anymore, and you're actually looking forward to it, and now you're starting to see your marriage flow. And I just think that's like so powerful, and I really want to encourage you. Don't not do it because you're rusty. You know what I mean? Do it because you're rusty, or because you don't want to get rusty. That's really powerful. And then the last thing is, especially I'm talking to you ladies, I think it's really easy to let our kids dominate our time and our love. It's easy to pour love into your kids, okay? It's very important to pour it into your husband. And somebody wise told me once, your kids are gonna grow up and leave you, and they're gonna grow up and leave you before you even think that's possible, okay? It's coming. Your man, the one sitting next to you on the couch, is the one who's gonna be there when you're old, okay? You have to invest in him. Your kids can benefit by nothing more than seeing their parents feed into their marriage. You are setting a powerful lesson for them that will pass down through the generations, because they, when they're married, they're gonna know what to do to feed their relationship. And that is the gift you're giving them. So stop using the kids as an excuse for all of this, okay? Focus on the day those kids have gone to college or the Marines, wherever they're going. It doesn't matter, they're going somewhere someday. You have to realize that and not let your kids dominate every ounce of your love and attention and time, and put them in their place and focus on your marriage, okay? That's what I want you to do for 2020. So, thank you so much for joining us. Come back next week. We're gonna be here and we have a couple more episodes where we're gonna be wrapping up the How We Love series. Happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. I hope that you have a really wonderful date night. Take care. Bye-bye.